YouTube Ozzy going. The Goat House is back after Thursday night football in Week 10 with the Colts and the Titans. Interesting game. I thought it'd be a little better, more entertaining of a game. It was for a bit. Looked like it could have went either way, but then things really shifted. I'll give you my takeaways in just a second. We do this video every Friday. We have full NFL coverage, picks, power rankings, plenty more. We have a Twitter, constantly talking during pretty much every single game throughout the NFL year. Link down below for that. Instagram, podcast, Patreon, a lot going on. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Full NFL coverage, even in the offseason with free agency and the NFL draft. That Patreon I mentioned has some bonus content, junior score predictions, my bets of the week for NFL, college football score predictions, playoff predictions, a lot. We got a lot going on there every single week. But to the Colts-Titans game, and, I'm thinking the same thing, this morning compared to last night is, this game looked like it was going to go down, come down to the wire, come down to the end. Anybody can win. Actually, the Titans had control of the game until a shanked punt and then a block punt for a touchdown. So that really did the Titans in there. And that's kind of what separated it from being a pretty good game to an easy Colts victory. So that was unfortunate. Something I noticed is, Brett Kern, one of the better punters in the league for the Titans, was out, but they had a different punter last week and they decided to switch for some reason, and that really backfired on them. So for their sake, I hopefully they clean that up or Kern comes back sometime soon. Pretty good game early on. It did, again, early it looked like the Titans had control. They get up 7-0. They get a fourth down stop that was huge. We'll talk about, the Colts play calling in a little bit. We'll talk about both teams play calling. But then the Titans get the ball back. They take a shot to A.J. Brown. He beats Xavier Rhodes one-on-one, and somehow he drops the ball. That was a walk-in touchdown. So that could have been 14-0. It could have been a whole different ball game. So, you see these. They start to add up. A.J. Brown, a rare drop touchdown, a shank punt, and then a block punt for a touchdown, just not the Titans' day. So I do expect, next time these two teams play, which is actually in a couple weeks, if the Titans clean those things up, which you think they would be able to, I think we get the game we were kind of hoping for with a very tight game that goes down in the end, perhaps. It was an unfortunate day for the Titans, but the Colts also left some points off on the field too. I thought with some bad play calling, good play calling up until you got to the red zone, and then there was some poor or short yard situation. Then there was some poor play calling. Nyheim Hines was just working. He was working, and they would go away from it. There was one point early in the game where Hines would work the field. They got into the Titans' red zone, and then they go first down. They take a shot to the end zone. Not a big deal. Okay, try to catch them all, off guard there. I'm fine with it. Second down, no running back in the backfield, so you basically tell a defense that's struggling, you give them some help, which play choice it's going to be. You got a 50-50 shot to guess. Now you know what it's going to be. And then third down, the same thing, no back in the backfield. Jordan Wilkins ends up dropping the ball on fourth down there, so the Colts come away with no points there. So I didn't like the play decisions there, no back in the backfield. First off, how do you not run the ball with Hines or get Hines the ball when he's working the way down there? But then mainly, no back in the backfield, making it easy for the defense. So, great play calling up until they got in those situations. Then I wasn't really a fan of the play calling. They had a goal line stand at one point, a touchdown called back, rightfully, I believe. So that kind of stings a little bit. You think for the Colts, you think you got a touchdown taken back, and then you think you can get it in, but you can't get it in. And just going away from Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Wilkins did not look good in this game. Jonathan Taylor, he wasn't seeing holes in this game. He wasn't seeing holes. Really couldn't do much. The vision and the burst at the hole just wasn't there. There was a third down stop earlier in the game, and then getting stopped at the goal line. There was a hole. It didn't last long, but it was pretty big, and he just couldn't get there. I don't know if he saw it anyways, but he just couldn't get there fast enough. I think a guy like Hines would have scored on that. And another fourth down try with Jordan Wilkins on the goal line, couldn't really get it. So. And then they kind of learned that, and they were just kind of going Hines. They even went Jacoby Brissett. So they were, at that point, they were realizing we got to trust Hines. And then once they get to the goal line again, Hines just dives in the end zone easy, because of his speed, his athleticism. I mean, he was fantastic. He's been fantastic, week one, but in the last few weeks too. So they're finally realizing, without Marlon Mack's their best running back, but Nyheim Hines is probably their best weapon out there. And then Jacoby Brissett with a pretty good run too. You think he's gonna get the first down, but he runs in the end zone. You see the strength on him. So they got multiple better runners, they're realizing, than Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Wilkins. That's pretty unfortunate. They spent the second-round pick on Jonathan Taylor. They wish more from him. I expected, I wasn't in love with that pick, if you guys remember, but I expected more from him too. I thought, yeah, he might cost you actually might cost you a game or two with his fumbling, but he could be a home run hitter. But last week he costed them with the fumble. But he hasn't been able to make these big runs or even hit the hole that fast. It's been Nyheim Hines is just a much better option. They're starting to realize that. But yeah, monster game from Hines. Another good sign. Pretty solid game for Michael Pittman. He was looking good. Got a lot of his yards late. But what I like from him, what you saw at USC was pretty much a comeback on the outside or a go. So you kind of wonder, you don't doubt him, but you kind of wonder. It's one of those situations where can he give you more? But you see it using him across the middle of the field. I love to see that. So Michael Pittman was looking good, looking a little quicker and faster than what we saw on tape USC. That's pretty much coming off an injury here at Michael Pittman. So that's fantastic. Phillip Rivers, I thought, played well. Didn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, he did a bit, but took care of the ball. I think even Colts fans were expecting, all right, now it's probably the time we turn the ball over and kind of blow this lead. They took care of the ball, very, very, very good with the ball. Again, the play calling and the tempo was great up until, and then late in the game they figured it out, but up until short yard goal line situations, I didn't really like it for the most part. But the second half defense, the second half really stepped up. That was huge. Forcing those punts. Those punts were the big plays of the game. A shank punt and then a block punt for a touchdown. Huge. Both of those basically gave the Colts 14 points, but I think it was rewarded off of the defense, how they played, forcing some quick, 3-and-outs or 6-and-outs, whatever it was there. Off the shank, I think it was a 6 plays and out, and off the block punt, it was a 3-and-out. So that was huge. I thought Grover Stewart, a guy like that nose tackle, was everywhere for them. DeForest Buckner doing his job. The front seven in general, I thought looked really good there. Not that the secondary didn't. They were pretty tight in coverage, and Julian Blackman made a huge play early on. That pick's looking really good because he was a former, I talk about it all the time, he's a former corner, switched to safety. So you think, yeah, it's okay if he struggles early on, and because he's got a lot of potential with NFL coaches, learning from NFL players as well, developing as a safety, which is kind of new to him, but he's already playing at a very high level, so that is fantastic. The defense just really stepped up. The Titans were still able to move the ball. They were still able to move the ball, though I still like their offense. 17 points doesn't show, how well their offense is, and how I think it played better than that as well. The defense and special teams really let them down. But yeah, and that's pretty much for the Colts. That's a big time win in Tennessee. AFC South battle. They got to play the Packers. They got to play the Titans again, which. Yeah, it could go either way because you don't expect the punt situation again. Who knows, though? But that game could definitely go either way. But the Colts looking good. You got the tough part of their schedule coming up, though. But that's a giant win. Absolute huge win. Titans, really the only positive thing here is Derrick Henry. I thought Derrick Henry ran extremely well. And this will kind of go into play calling next. I will say Ryan Tannehill had his good moments. He threw a good ball on A.J. Brown, which would have been added to his production if he would have caught the ball. Under pressure, getting hit, I thought he threw the ball pretty well. You can't say he had a great game. But yeah, I'm fine with Ryan Tannehill in this game. But Derrick Henry ran extremely well, especially when the Colts expected it. A good defense. He still was able to bust loose for some big runs. But the play calling, why it's in yellow, because there was the times they scored, it looked like genius, plays, designs and play calls. Everything looked great, but you go from one end to another. Then it felt like every single second and 10 they ran the ball every single time. Sometimes it worked, but it was too obvious at one point. It just didn't work, and you were playing for third down and maybe third and long situations, making it harder on your offense. And then you look at, Derrick Henry played very well against a good defense. He only carried the ball 19 times, though. I know they weren't. It's not like they were down most of this game. You had control, of this game. Actually, if for the most part, we're into the third quarter. And the Titans were still, not in complete control, but they were winning the game. So there really isn't an excuse. You can come up with the excuse that we were playing from behind. We couldn't really give them the ball. But it wasn't the case most of the game. So they were only giving him the ball in obvious situations, and he still ran well. If you would have gave him the ball, in unpredictable situations throughout the game, you may have won this game. You may have avoided those three and out, 6 and out, the punt, the punt disaster. You may have avoided that. So Play calling was kind of back and forth there. I think it ended up on the downside. Defense looked like a mess. I think mainly corners because the defensive line was actually doing their part. Whenever Phillip Rivers had, more than 2 seconds, had to throw 3 seconds, whatever, the pressure was actually starting to come in. They got a big sack before the end of the half. The Colts ended up getting a field goal. The pressure didn't even have a shot. Those guys, Jadeveon Clowney, Harold Landry, we know they can get after the quarterback. Jeffrey Simmons gets the interior pressure. Daquan Jones got the sack. If those guys were given time to get the pressure, they could have done it, but the corners were playing so damn far off the ball. I can't stand this. I see it from a lot of teams lately. Like, is there no coaches telling them, get the hell up on the line of scrimmage, get in the guy's face? I'm confused on what's happening here. It's not just the Titans doing it, but it's bad on the Titans. They are playing, and you see as the cadence is happening for, in this case, Phillip Rivers, they're backing up even further. They end up at, I think the best case scenario is 8 yards off the ball, but I think most of the time it's 10 to 15 yards off the ball. It's ridiculous. I could put up a better fight. Yeah, we would have to adjust the settings, turn injuries off, but I would put up a better fight, I believe. I think a lot of us would than that. Not that we would be better, but we would put up a better fight. Just being afraid to get beat deep. How many shots did the Colts take? Not too many. A lot of underneath passes, as they should, to Hines, Pittman, a lot of good plays like that. I hate that. I hate when I see that. Corners kind of being afraid, playing afraid. At least change up your looks. I'm surprised not too many corners do this. As the cadence is going on, get in the quarterback's head. If you don't want to end up pressing, at least line up like you're going to press. Line up like you're going to press, and then you're backing up anyways when you're lining up 10 yards off the ball. Start to back off. The quarterback makes adjustments. All right, we're going to take a deep shot because he's got the tight coverage. You back up. He throws the ball. You can make a play on that. I'm really confused on why I don't see more of that. The bad game from the corners. Linebackers weren't too good in coverage either. Defensive line, it may look like they played bad, but they didn't really get a shot. I think they had their moments, stopping the run. The corners, they need Adoree Jackson back badly. Who knows how he'll be when he comes back, but they need him back. So the Titans play the Ravens and the Colts next. Rough. They need Adoree Jackson back. At least the next time they play the Colts, it's a huge game for the AFC South. Huge game, must-win game. They're going to need Adoree Jackson back. They're going to need it back. But now you should have an idea what the Colts are going to do. Make them take the shots. Corners got to play up. Stop being afraid. A.J. Brown, that drop touchdown, what it would have been, that's rough. He can't drop that. It's a whole different ball game if he catches that and scores. He had a couple other ones that he could have caught. They weren't the best throws. They weren't the easiest catches. But yeah, he just couldn't. He didn't show up. He didn't show up in this game. And that drop, that's disappointing. So, it's a rough game. We're starting to enter him in the conversation of like legit receivers. See his teammate DK Metcalf. See the second-year guy Terry McLaurin moving up there. A.J. Brown can't afford to have a game like this if we're going to talk about him in the conversation. I'm a big A.J. Brown fan, but that's rough. That's rough there. It's special teams, obviously. So they're down to their third punter, I believe, but the second punter was last week's. I don't know, confusing decision there. Shanked punt. And it was a bad one, too. The Colts got to start at the 27-yard line of the Titans, and then the block punt for a touchdown. Those were back-to-back. Here's 14 points. Here's 14 points, Colts. That's what you're basically doing there. So that's bad. That's rough. Could blame the coaches a lot for that. And then another Gostowski missed kick. Not really surprising. I'm still a little salty, to be honest. He went 6 for 6 on my Vikings, and Titans won by 1 point. He went 6 for 6. Basically a game winner at the end. I'm a little salty about that. I'm not going to lie here. How does he do that? I don't know. He's been missing kicks like crazy. Would that have mattered in this game? It would have kept him in the game. Could have been a little different, but they probably wouldn't have won at that point. I think they lost on the Colts executing on offense / the Titans corners playing so far off the ball. The 2 punts, A.J. Brown touchdowns. So hopefully a little more entertaining. It was entertaining through a certain point, but hopefully the next time they play a little more entertaining. I expect it to be. It will be in Indianapolis, but I expect it to be. Titans got to eliminate the fluky things, but then the Colts got to execute at the goal line, short yard situation. Colts got the Packers next. Titans got the Ravens next. They're hard part of the schedule. I don't know if the Titans looks harder the next couple games. Other than that, I don't know if it's that tough. Colts, got a tough stretch here. With the Packers, they got to play the Titans again. I think the Raiders is a tough matchup. Texans twice. So it's a sneaky team, but I do expect them to beat them twice. Steelers. So some entertaining games definitely on the way. There's a statement win for the Colts, big time win. Can they stay consistent? Because we've seen them in these big games. They had them here and there. The Bears win was good. You fall to the Browns, though, and it's kind of back and forth your feelings on the Colts, and they fall. They only score 10 points in the Ravens. They fall there. Now they get this win. How are they going to be against Packers? Let's stay consistent here. The Titans don't look the same as where they started. They got to clean some things up on defense. Obviously, special teams. I'm not worried about their offense, though. I'm not worried. Saffold came out of this game, too. Hopefully he's okay because they already lost Taylor Lewan. They need Saffold healthy. This was not a good night for the Titans, and it looked like they could have won this game, for certain, until they couldn't. So that was just a rough night for them. A couple big games left, though. Can't wait for those. We're back every Friday with the Thursday night recap. We got a recap for all the Sunday games every Monday. We got power rankings, predictions, score predictions every week. So please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Follow that Twitter, more on there. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.